Hey there, welcome to day 12 of the Volunteer Recruiting Challenge. This is the 90-day challenge where I'm attempting to recruit 50 new volunteers. All this week we've been talking about volunteer orientation. We've been talking about a lot of the how of the volunteer orientation, but today I want to talk a little bit about the why. Like why do we do it? Why do I do it? Why do I believe in it so much? And I would probably narrow it down to like this one central idea. And I would say it's about stewarding the ask. Asking people to volunteer, asking people to commit to serving, to giving up an hour or two every week. Like that's actually a really big ask. And I'll be perfectly honest. I don't know that I've always been great at that. I get anxiety sometimes to ask people to do things that they don't want to do. And so I think it's an important moment, and it needs to be done appropriately. And I would say it needs to be done in a way that increases the odds that somebody's going to say yes. I mean, if I'm going to go through the effort of asking somebody to make a commitment to do something big, I want to increase my chances that they're going to say yes. I mean, I believe with all my heart that it's going to be amazing for them. Like they're going to be like 6 months from now, they're going to be so glad that they said yes. But the first step is them saying yes. And so I want to make sure that we create a space where it's easier for them to say yes. I know like recruiting somebody's so hard, like, especially if you're trying to have a conversation with them after church, in the courtyard, in the lobby, wherever it may be. And their kids are running around and they're trying to get to lunch, and it's just like, it's not a great moment to ask somebody to do something really big like that. Like you don't know what's going on in their head, you don't know what they're thinking, and so it's just really easy for them to say no, and they could say no for a lot of different reasons. But I know that if I can get them to a place where they can see the vision, and they can, with their own eyes, they can see the people that they would be saying yes to, whether they be kids or teenagers or people at your church, and where they could see the people that they would get to work with, and they actually could get to see what they're being asked to do. And usually, that's a really positive experience. And so for me, it's way easier to ask somebody to come to an orientation than it is to ask them to make a commitment. And so the volunteer orientation, what I have found is the volunteer orientation does all the heavy lifting. It sets the stage. It kind of sets their heart. It sets their mind to have a really clear picture of what it looks like to serve in your kids ministry or in your student ministry or wherever it may be. And then after they've had a chance to see, experience, hear, imagine all these things, and then you ask them, would you like to be a part of this? And here's what I found. When I just ask people about serving, I mean, it's such a random, like I just have no security to know whether or not they would ever say yes. But at a volunteer orientation, they all say yes. I mean, for the most part, like I remember at one point I tracked it. It was like over 90% of the people that came to volunteer orientation, they all said yes. So I do volunteer orientations, and I do them as often as I can, and I do them at every church where I serve, because recruiting volunteers is hard, and the volunteer orientation, it does the heavy lifting. Like it makes the ask so much easier. To be absolutely honest, the volunteer orientation, I don't even really ask people to serve. I let them experience our ministry up close and personal. And then at the end of it, I say, hey, so the next step is to fill out this volunteer intake form and this volunteer application and fill out this information card. And I just talk about the logistics of what's next and those things. I don't even really ask them to like, hey, so are you willing to do this. These are the next steps, and everyone pulls out their phone and they scan the QR code, and then many of them ask questions. They ask some clarifying questions, but they like the volunteer orientation is the ask, and it's a fun, exciting, invitational ask. So that's why I do the volunteer orientation. And again, like I said before, I believe in the product. I believe in the opportunity. And I know that if they say yes, they're going to thank me for it. They're going to love it. They're going to be so glad that they did. And they're going to be so glad that I asked them. So I try to make it a little bit easier for them to say yes and step into this thing that they're going to love so much. So that's why I do a volunteer orientation, and that's why I think you should do it.